welcome to Life Parlay. I appreciate you coming on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, Pete Michalczyk, or in Polish, go for it.
Michalczyk.
Michalczyk. There it is. I don't have a Shapolsky or anything like that in my last name, so it's all right.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad you came on the show today. I'm excited for this. We were about an hour late from where we wanted to start, but we had a long night last night, so
Yeah.
it's
all good. Thanks for feeding me, man. That's huge.
Yeah, well, that wasn't me, but the sponsor takes care of you.
For sure.
The producer, they're the ex. Well, I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, I was thinking about it earlier. When did we first meet each other? I mean, okay, obviously we met each other through my cousin, but we met each other before that, did we not?
I'm trying to think back, and it's probably like that 4th of July party that he had with the big bounce house.
Okay.
And then we really didn't get to know each other till we started working in his basement, finishing his floor and all that stuff. So
I remember we did the bedroom, and after the bedroom was done, he looked at us and went, "Oh, we didn't do this right because of the lines match up."
right.
Because we just went into it and just
He wanted a random pattern, not the repeating pattern.
Yeah.
Even though there was no instructions provided.
Yeah, I know. He didn't give us anything about it, so
Right.
which is hilarious. But
But
yeah,
then we also did that one house where it was absolutely miserable, where we ripped up the carpets.
where was that at? Oh, was that at? You came with us for that one?
Yeah.
The one that smelled. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, where it smelled like
smelled so
cat
bad with all
piss
the
and
cat
like
and dog piss.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was gross.
That was bad.
That was disgusting.
Right. But we got it
We
done.
wore gloves in there, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the gloves kept tearing off, and we're sitting there going, "Oh, we gotta put them on."
Right.
Oh, that was gross. That was super, super gross. But
And all the annoying staples.
oh yes.
Yeah.
That was super gross. I remember that. It was a house too, which is, oh. But all right. So I kind of wanted to get into you and figure out. I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit here.
Yeah.
So I was told that you. Where'd you go to school? Did you go to college?
Yeah, so I actually recently got my bachelor's degree. I went to Northeastern Illinois University.
Okay.
Only took me like 14 years, but hey, got it done. So my degree's in interdisciplinary studies, so it's basically like underwater basket weaving.
I'm a communication major, so I understand.
Yeah, similar. So I started off doing like criminal justice, but that school's like all about social justice, and it really wasn't aligning what I was doing professionally. So I wound up just transitioning and using life experience, and then taking a whole bunch of other randomized courses that I felt were going to be much better for my future, and wound it all up together and kind of got my degree that way.
Where's Northeastern? Where's that at?
It's in the north side of the city of Chicago, near Foster and Pulaski.
Okay.
It's still a state school, but it's...
So it's not that one that Kanye West went to, right?
No, I don't even know where he went.
Kanye West went to a... OG, if you can pull it up, which school Kanye West went to school. I believe in the south side of Chicago, but...
Where did he go, like Governor State or something like that?
It was like... I think it's like Chicago State, actually, is what it's called. I'm pretty sure it's called Chicago State.
Okay.
He'll look it up and see if he can pull it up for us. But yeah, so... Northeastern, okay. You just got it, a couple years ago, or?
Oh, yeah. I actually finished it last May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Congrats. Yeah, I'm in my
thanks.
60 or so. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it.
6 is way better than 14. I mean, granted, I was doing like 2 classes
Yeah.
at a time. A lot of breaks in between. It just really wasn't a priority, as I was, already establishing a career at that point and having kids and being married. Life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Right. So, because I was already working professionally, since I turned 18. So it's not like, hey, I had that true college experience of going away and, staying, living the dorm life or anything like that, and really being able to focus on a full-time schedule of just school.
Yeah. So I know I've heard before, and I kind of wanted to get into as much as you can with this one, but I know that you were a police officer for a while, right?
Yeah.
Did you in Illinois, or
Yeah.
where at in Illinois?
At a university.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you were like a campus PD?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it's a little more chill then, right?
Yeah. What it allowed us to do, because the department was so small, you actually had to wear a lot of different hats, right? So, everything pretty much, and especially when you're running 2-3 person shifts, right? It really, you have to master all the little things too. right? It's not like you have a whole department that could come and back you up in a heartbeat, right? So, I did a lot of training and development, really got into that. And then I was able to transition into a role that I was the only person for the whole campus doing emergency management. So working directly for the chief, writing all the plans, conducting different training exercises, training the actual university community as well too. So that kind of like really broadens your horizons when you're not just so much focused on regular patrol activities or anything like that. You really get to go and broaden out and think really kind of strategically instead of just addressing a singular problem.
So are you cruising around like in a squad car, or are you jumping on like the golf cart riding around?
No, we didn't have any golf carts. We did
Okay.
have a bicycle team. We had a number of squad cars. I mean, it's a small campus, like 55 acres or so, so it wasn't very big. But yeah, I mean, being in the middle of the city as well too, to be able to go on, city calls as well and stuff like that. But really, the main focus was to the campus.
Okay. All right.
I
So
mean, in all reality, even though there was like police powers and able to arrest people and write tickets and what have you, really it's kind of security for the school. That's the main focus of that.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, you guys obviously. Okay. So what year would that have been in?
Between '05 is when I started working for that department.
Okay. So that's what, a year after Columbine. 2004 was Columbine.
No, Columbine was
That's
1999.
Okay. What was there was something in 2004, wasn't there?
There was a Virginia Tech
Virginia
shooting.
Tech, that's what I'm
yeah,
thinking
that
of.
was like 2003, 2004, if I remember.
So then, were
correctly.
you guys pretty tight on making sure that you guys ran a tight shift then?
Absolutely.
Because obviously, I know how college is. Every single building and its mother is all open. I mean, everything's unlocked. Every door,
Right.
every classroom, damn near. Even now, I mean, I know there's some campuses where you have to scan your actual ID. You have to like hit it to unlock the door. But okay, so someone's got an ID. So I know how it is on campus. I mean, you can walk on campus at any time of the night,
Right.
and be in any building you can't.
Yeah, Columbine really started a whole shift nationally with all law enforcement, not just campuses or anything, but in how do they respond to these active shooter situations. And they came up with this whole change in training, immediate action, rapid deployment. How do we get a quick team of officers to quickly go make contact with the bad guy or bad guys and do what you got to do, right? So it really changed the whole dynamic because before it was kind of, hey, quarantine the area, lock it down, wait for SWAT. And now it's like, hey, go chase the bad guy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that-
So are you guys carrying then on campus then? Or- Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, 'cause I'm trying to think of like ASU. They have their police guys, but they're literally just there watching you, making sure you're maybe not smoking on campus.
Yeah.
And even when that comes to play, they're not gonna go fast through 170 people per 2 seconds. I mean, there's so many people on that campus. Obviously,
sure.
not this year, but in past when I've been walking through campus, I mean, you see the squad car, and you go, "You're on the other side of me right now. There's thousands of people here. You're not driving towards me. You got to get out your car and walk towards me if you see me smoking or something, doing something stupid." So,
Yeah, it's some of the petty stuff too, because I know all the state universities here in Illinois. It's a couple years ago they prohibited all smoking on campus grounds and what have you. I mean, how do you really regulate that? I mean, I don't know. At some point, it is still a free country, and if a person chooses to smoke, they should still be able to smoke.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean being a douchebag about things, like and I'm a smoker too, but my biggest pet peeve is people that throw their butts on the ground.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, you can still be a decent person.
yeah. I don't know. You ever been to Colorado before?
Yeah.
Okay, so in Colorado and Denver, you ever been to Denver?
Oh, I flew through Denver.
Okay, so in Denver, downtown Denver, there's a street, I believe it's 16th Street or something like that. And it's a non-smoking street. It's part of their mall.
Okay.
And so it's like a strip mall pretty much outside. And you can't smoke outside on that street. I mean, you can, it runs, I forget, I think it runs east to west. And you can't, like, you can come off the street right there, and it's all cobblestone, right? Mm-hmm. But you can come around the corner where it's not cobblestone, and you can sit there on the corner and smoke.
Oh.
But then as soon as you step onto there, there's cops everywhere. There's, like, cameras. There's stuff that says, like, if you get caught smoking here, it's a $500 fine,
Sure.
stuff like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
really?
What's
I
the
mean,
difference
outside.
between 5 feet this way or 5 feet that way.
Like the same
right?
thing as smoking and non-smoking section in a restaurant, right?
Right, right. Although, as a smoker, I truly love the fact that we don't have smoking inside bars or restaurants or what have you. Because I mean, you'd come out just smelling like horrible, and it'd just be way too much. So
I mean, okay, wouldn't you? Okay, obviously you probably experienced in your life being on. Have you ever experienced in your life being on a plane, being able to smoke?
no,
How cool that would have been.
yeah,
Because now I think about it, I mean, I probably would sit there and I'd probably buy a pack of cigarettes and slip through it in that 3 hours. I'd probably just sit there and chain smoke the entire time, probably thinking nothing's wrong with this, right?
yeah,
And I mean, like we were talking about the other day with Vegas and everything else like that, but I wish I could have experienced it once in my
Okay.
life where I could have been on a plane and smoked.
Yeah.
And then someone told me, they go, yeah, you want to experience it? Make a good amount of money, take your own plane. I go, yeah, all right. That's
yeah.
not as
I
fun.
don't know when that went into effect, but I also remember having vending machines that had cigarettes in them. As a kid, I'd be sent to the corner store by my parents and just pick it up, and
They still have those. I've seen those still before, where some gas stations have them, or like actually some rest stops in Arizona.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can still go in and get like socks, cigarettes, condoms, tampons.
would it make you like scan your ID or something? No, it's
You
just,
just
hey,
scan, you click it, and
there's a pocket full of quarters. And,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they really care, right? I mean, but obviously now, I don't know if you've seen some of these vending machines now, but
They
some of these
are
things
nuts.
are.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've seen a couple on the internet too, where they have like in I don't know if it's in China or wherever it is.
Japan's huge on that stuff.
So
They'll blend
Japan,
everything.
Japan does the one where like they can get the sushi from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's kind of gross, but at the same time, they probably have so many people that get it from there every day that
Right.
it's all probably fresh.
Yeah, and they restock them and all this other stuff too. I mean, if you ever see like some of the Facebook videos where it's kind of like, this is how it's made,
Yeah.
and they do all those Japanese vending machines. I mean, they have everything in there.
Oh, I
Like, you
know.
can do like pillows and blankets. Like,
It's
you
so,
know,
but see, then I feel like that's awesome at the same time, but I don't think we could ever have that here because that kills. I mean, that probably will kill our economy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you have no stores open then.
right. Although we're seeing that now with the evolution of commerce and everything, especially in this whole COVID world nowadays. I mean, what's the future going to be like? And doesn't necessarily mean it's better. I mean, we have all this stuff that's like, hey, single serve. Not that I'm some like environmentalist, but it's like, man, like thinking back, I still remember turning in Coke bottles and milk bottles and stuff like that, and using paper bags. all the
Oberweis,
time.
yeah, Oberweis.
Yeah,
you get the Oberweis bottles.
And everybody lost their mind thinking it's like, holy cow, this is so cool that Oberweis is doing, returnable milk jugs. No, that's how it was like all the time back then.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, I think maybe we were even more environmentally friendly back in the day.
So it's actually funny that we're talking about this right now because in Arizona, just on the street from where I live, it's in a strip mall, and you walk in. It's really weird. You walk in to like a normal store, it seems like, and then there's a Whataburger, a Jack in the Box, a sushi place, a cafe. It's all in one, right? So
Okay.
it seems like it would be a mall, right?
Yeah, it's like
but
a
it's
mini
not.
mall.
It's actually owned by one person who like runs all like 6 of these, and you walk up to all these little kiosks, and you click in what you want, and then they bring your food out to like the center.
Okay, cool.
And it's like some weird stuff because
Yeah.
it just it's not like when you're at the mall where you get like the Sbarro pizza.
right.
And
It's almost like one central ordering location, but the
you
guy's
do
got
kiosk.
franchises.
Yeah, and he
all in
does
it.
it all in one kitchen where it's all the food and just runs.
That's an amazing concept and an amazing way to, like, I guess, diversify your revenue. That, hey, in case one of these lines is doing really bad, like, hey, for whatever reason, Taco Bell's got like tainted salad or something like that, right? Hey, the other lines are now supporting what Taco Bell is losing out on. I mean, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, so it just is weird. I mean, I've never seen that before, and
Yeah.
just because obviously you see it at the mall where you get the one stop, or you can go to this one, or this one, like a cafeteria, but it just was one kitchen, kiosks, and then you type it
And
in.
he's saving so much money by doing it in one probably smaller, piece of real estate than like a mall rental where each individual, section,
Oh, yeah.
he's being charged rent and all the utilities and stuff. So now it's all coming out of one, but you have so many options.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so much money you're being saved and
Right.
making probably in there too. So,
Yeah.
but All right, so you in police at the campus. Did you anything good? Anything you can share? Any like crazy stories? Anything that any like crazy college kids or something you busted up that was cool? Or
Yeah, I mean, nothing really that we had that crazy, only because our student population was way different than what you think of your traditional college student, in that most of these students were commuter students. We didn't have dorms, so if they didn't live in an area, then they were all commuting, right? Probably the only thing that I can think of that really kind of always stuck in my head was the one guy that had like a foot fetish that would always like go to our library, and he'd be taking pictures of women's feet. And as we were doing like more and more investigating around this case or what have you, it turns out that he was known among several other universities in the Chicagoland
Really?
area. So he's like a serial, habitual, like foot fetish guy, right? That's one that always kind of made me chuckle.
OG, see if you can pull that one up. See if you can find foot fetish guy from Northeastern.
Oh my God, there's gonna be like, I don't know, like some right,
Yeah, a bunch of porn's
bunch
gonna
of,
pop up
bunch
right
of
away.
weird episodes or
Yeah,
something.
that's crazy though. I didn't.
Yeah, but no, I mean it was a pretty chill neighborhood and a pretty chill campus and stuff like that. So a lot of what we got to focus on was preventative stuff and educating. A lot of times you have these kids that are coming fresh out of high school and don't look both ways when crossing the street, and like simple life skills too sometimes.
So it's almost kind of like a community college.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much how you'd
It's
put
a
it up.
glorified community college. As they
I mean, it's a 4-year school, but it's community college.
Absolutely.
Because okay, Elgin. So I went to Elgin Community College.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not small, but it's not huge.
Right.
It's in the middle of the road of I mean, it's a pretty big campus itself. I mean, you've got to get to one class on one side to one class to the other. It's going to take you a little bit.
Sure.
And, I mean, we always saw the officers there. I mean, a couple times maybe saw them, like, cuff someone up and dragging someone in. But I was like, it's probably because the hood followed you a little too far from the hood to Elgin. So you
Yeah,
probably
for
screwed
sure.
up and probably got caught smoking weed in your car or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, well.
Yeah, nothing crazy. A lot of people that would run like stop signs and stuff, so there'd be a lot of traffic citations. And hey, you don't have a current registration sticker and stuff. So, I mean, like little petty stuff like that. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you find it?
Yeah, it's a lot of foot fetish stuff coming up. It's,
Just some, like, weird stuff?
yeah, it's really
Did
weird.
you find that school for Kanye West?
That was, yeah, I did that before.
What do you got? I think it was Chicago State, right?
Chicago State.
Chicago
Okay.
State.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went there for like 1 year, I believe. He was like one of the one of the only people like with his stature right now. Like
Yeah, that made it
that's-
big.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
I think he dropped that. Didn't you do that whole song about that? College Dropout or something? I swear that I do something with that.
Maybe,
I don't know.
maybe I don't know. I thought maybe you would find that one already.
Maybe he played it during his presidential run.
Oh yeah. Well, the best was it was a joke, but there was a video of him, and he goes, it's obviously a fake green screen of the presidency thing, and it's not actually him talking. It's
Okay.
a song, and he goes, I told you guys that I forget what he said, but he said something about never giving up even if he loses. And he goes, but I guess we'll never know. And then like a song starts playing because it shows the whole state purple because he's like got a purple sweatshirt on or something.
Yeah, I think one of the best memes I ever saw around Kanye West and this presidential election thing was regarding their count in Nevada. Is that, hey, it's probably because Kanye West won Nevada and they just don't know how to break the news to us.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
you
it's
know, like, I mean, okay, are they still counting
I don't know. Like, I kind of lost like interest into
after
it.
that week? It was
I've-
after that week, right?
Right.
I mean,
I've just
think
accepted
everyone stopped.
results. I mean, there's going to be happy people, there's going to be sad people, or whatever else. There's only so much that we can do other than just using our vote to change what we think is going to be for the better, right? But hey, it looks like it is, going to be Biden. So all right, cool. Good luck to you. Please, like, do everything you can to, like, try to change things for the better. The question is, whose definition of better, like, I don't know, like, everything's about compromise, and I think we're so divided and there's so many issues that are really polarizing that I think people forgot how it is to have a civil discussion and a debate and how to compromise, right? Because at the end of the day, we really want what's best for the country.
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. I remember watching that week. it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then Friday morning, I believe they finally said, he's projected to win or whatever it was. And after that, I went, okay, I'm done.
Right.
I just watched way too much news for 3 days straight, no
Right.
sleep, and now I don't care. And then now I haven't even kept up with it.
Yeah.
All I've seen was Giuliani had his hair dye dripping down his face.
did he really?
Yeah, he was sweating his ass off
Gotcha.
having a conference.
Yeah.
And his hair dye was dripping down his cheek.
He was probably thinking about his incident with Sacha Baron Cohen, right? And he just starts sweating bullets, right?
Well, as soon as that happened, then that happens, right? Because then pretty much election is right around the corner, right there. Which I also love that the election was sponsored by Borat 2.
Was it really?
So it was funny because CNN would always have it, right?
Okay.
And that would pop on as their first commercial. Amazon Prime. Borat.
Well, it kind of makes sense because CNN obviously being, very much liberal and, wants to put a jab at it. So if there's anything, which the movie was
Oh,
a
yeah.
big jab towards the conservative base or what have you. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you still got to be able to laugh about some stuff. You have to be able to look at it optimistically. And other than the very few polarizing policy decisions, is anything really going to change?
Yeah.
Probably not.
No, I mean.
So, all these people stressing out and crying or whatever, I mean, it is what it is,
Okay, I know Sacha Baron Cohen, he, on one of his shows, he had a politician pull his pants down. I forget who it was. It was something, it was on not on Ali G, it was on, This Is America or something.
Okay.
Sacha Baron Cohen makes
Politician pull his pants down.
Yeah, right?
Sometimes it's the simplest things.
Pull pants down. Let's check it out. See if it pops up here. Yeah, Georgia rep. Nope. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, 2018. Sacha Baron Cohen gets Georgia state rep to shout racial slur,
Okay.
repeatedly shout the N-word, then later pulls his pants down and runs backwards into the actor while doing something.
Right.
And come on, how do you get yourself in a moment where you think that that's good to do, and then he resigned a few weeks later? He screwed up.
Yeah, I don't think there's any coming back from that, right?
No.
I mean, the pants down, okay, cool. Which politicians hasn't had their pants down? But yeah, the racial slurs and all that other stuff, yeah, that's a no-go.
Once I'm surprised that Giuliani got caught with that issue, and then they kind of swept it under the rug. But
Although as a guy that watched Borat 2 when it came out and watching the scene and, hearing all the controversy about it, I don't know. I mean, obviously there's video editing. None of us were there, right? But it didn't look like, he looked like an old man tucking his shirt in.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it sounds like silly or what have you.
But how did you get yourself in a situation where how did he think? What my thing with that one is you're that recognized by the national media, and that you put yourself in a low budget interview like that with some.
Well, I also don't know what they're, because, a lot of people will do interviews, for a lot of these, low ranking or low scale productions and stuff like that. So I don't know if that was part of his normal tempo too, that he would grant access to some of these lower guys to kind of boost them up or anything like that. So,
No, obviously, if people haven't seen it, sorry, I'm going to say it anyways. But the one where I think it was Pence's, he was doing some kind of little rally or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Was it the
it was like
RNC?
CPAC or something.
Yeah, and he ran in dressed as Trump or something
Right.
like that. First of all, how did he get in like that?
Yeah.
Second of all, how did he get all the way into there like that?
So I read the description, or he put something out, and he smuggled the costume in, and as he's getting patted down by security to enter into this convention hall or what have you, he makes some kind of excuse, right? And he does the changing in the bathroom allegedly. But I still look at, having done security work my entire life, right? How does he still get out of that bathroom through a long hallway and into the actual convention space without no one kind of stopping him, questioning him? Or I mean, it just looks shady. So, I mean, we all know that Sacha Baron Cohen, the way he does his comedy, a lot of it is staged. Especially when you look at the second movie, there's definitely a lot of staging and a lot of prep work done. It's not like these spontaneous events like he wants you to believe that, hey.
Well, I think the first one was a lot more free flowing. I think
Yeah.
the second one, obviously, a little more staged. When he's with the old dudes in the cabin,
Oh, yeah.
that's all 100%
Absolutely.
staged. I mean,
Yeah.
and then the rally too,
Right.
where I forget what song was he singing. He was, because obviously the first one, throw the Drew down the well, which is awesome, and then the second one, I forget. He's at like that little rally for like all like the right.
Yeah,
right,
it was like the
right-wingers.
conservative like anti-COVID rally or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah. I don't know. It just is funny because to see that. But okay, so you said your security. I mean, security. Are you able to get into for who or anything like that? Or
Yeah, I mean, so pretty long history in that area as well too. So worked at a different Chicago university doing security work for them as well for it was about a year and a half. And that was in Lincoln Park. That was a really awesome experience too, working midnights because there we did have the dorm environment, drunk students, weed in the dorm room, stuff like that. There's a lot of sadness too because you see a lot of these high performing students that would have suicide attempts or other issues that just not given enough tools, I guess, to cope,
yeah,
right? And then you started seeing this like slow decline in resiliency. Yeah, life beats you down, but you got to kind of get back up and charge forward. And a lot of these students, they just didn't have that kind of stuff.
I think what I've noticed, and it's sad a little bit that this is like this, but campuses and colleges are very, very, very good at keeping it very hush hush.
Oh, yeah.
If someone kills themselves.
Oh yeah.
I mean, unless it comes to national news
Right.
because of the family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that campus keeps that stuff quiet because
sure.
we had some kid, it was like a year and a half ago, he drank way too much.
Okay.
And then he should have had a stomach pump, but he didn't go and do it, and he was still like alert. Ended up deciding to do some cocaine, and this kid died. Like it was a bad batch of cocaine.
So COVID.
What's that?
So COVID.
Sure,
Yeah. No.
Sure. And
No,
so I was like,
but-
wait, what? I don't know
Yeah,
what that means. But yeah, so he too much alcohol, bad cocaine or whatever it was, and he just way too much too, like
Yeah.
the overconsumption of it.
For
too,
sure.
I think. I mean, I don't think it was just that it was bad, but it was just overconsumption, and he had all that going, and then he ended up just like passing out like in the yard or something like that of some frat house, and then just died. I mean, that was it.
Wow.
And very hush hush for like 2 weeks,
Right.
nothing. And like people were talking about it that we knew. They would talk and bring it up and be like, yeah, we knew him. Or we've met him before and everything.
Right.
Good guy. But it was very hush hush. And then eventually it finally came out where it was on like Fox 10 News Phoenix. you
Okay.
know, 2 weeks later. And
Yeah.
it goes, what, 2 weeks later? I mean, that's 2 weeks later. Like what? Like you're now telling us about this?
Wow, that's nuts.
I mean, obviously, I will say this though. So, I wanted to bring this up to you because obviously it's how times have changed. I think because okay, when you're on campus and stuff like that, how were you guys able to let the students know as quickly as possible if something was going on? Like, what did you guys use?
Right. So I was actually part of the initial build out of a mass alert notification system.
Okay.
And that would do text message, email, and phone blasts. And
Okay.
that's right when that technology was coming out, at least for large institutions, right? So we started initiating that program. And yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, we just kind of, especially keeping the databases updated, right? As people drop in, drop out, semesters change, making sure. So we struggled with making it like mandatory opt-in. Nowadays, I mean, the systems that they have, I mean, we use it even in my current job. We have, there's so many different systems out there that can do that for you.
So we use LiveSafe.
Okay.
It's called LiveSafe. So ASU. So I just pulled it up now. So they send you an email. Also, if you have the app too, it'll send you through the app as well.
Okay.
And they recommend you sending it.
Yeah.
But so you get an email and it says ASU alert. So this was November 16th, Tempe armed robbery at Marina Heights and Rio Salado Parkway. Officers have cleared the area. Resume normal activities. Then contact them if you have any information. And then you can click on that through the app and it'll describe. The guy was wearing like, it's always a description of like someone that did something wrong. jeans, black hoodie, white sneakers, and it's like, all right,
sure.
that's like every single human being out there. I mean, that's
Right. I
white
mean, you almost
male.
can't describe them as, hey, a male or female, because you don't want to assume somebody's gender, right? You can't describe their, ethnicity or their skin color, because then it might be prejudice. I mean, it becomes tough really in our line of work when we start getting limited by stuff like that, because, hey, how easy is it for someone to just ditch their hoodie or whatever else as they're running away from a scene of a crime?
Yeah, and
right?
especially if they're a student too, they get that email and go,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, well, I gotta change right now."
Yeah, I mean, it almost becomes where you're just like dismissing any type of emergency communication because it's going to be useless anyway.
Yeah,
But
most of the
I mean,
stuff that pops up for this though is it's mostly sexual assault that pops up.
that's
It's
another
always in
big
the
thing on
dorm.
college.
It's always in the
campuses.
dorm right there. I mean,
Right.
normally off campus, I don't think it's as bad as what it is, but like on campus, it's bad.
Well, with off campus, they don't have to report it the same way that they have to if it's on campus. There's a federal law, the Jean Cleary Act, that revolves around how campuses, put out all their crime statistics and all that stuff. So, off-campus stuff is way different than on-campus.
Yeah, yeah. That's the only stuff we ever see really is it's mostly sexual assault, and
Yeah.
but that's how they send it through the LiveSafe app and then through the email and whatever else. And
Yeah, that's nuts because I actually remember, before we would have those mass notification systems or anything, we'd literally have to print out a quick little blurb about the situation. We'd go around to every single entryway to the university and we'd be taping it to the doors because you have to, disclose the information.
so, I mean, anything crazy in security. I mean, same thing like you just said.
Oh,
Just
man. I mean,
any like just crazy guys. Anything just like something that just sticks out in your brain where you went like, "Hey, I'll never forget that day."
yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a few. I mean, I remember when my partner got crapped on, literally by a drunk college student.
Really?
We had him stopped because we seen him, basically holding up a wall to the building. He was really in bad shape. And as we're approaching him just to go talk to him and try to get him back to his dorm or get with a buddy or something, right, he literally pulls his pants down and just starts crapping, right? And my partner, like an idiot, decided to walk up to him, kind of tap him on the shoulder, spooked him. The guy jumped up and all this hot mess just goes flying onto him, right? So you got stuff like that,
Oh God.
especially that university that I worked at in Lakeview, they had, definitely a lot of sexual acts being, committed out in the open,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't judge, just kind of not the right forum, right? I mean, you got a dorm right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Just sign them in, sign her out, whatever you got to do,
Yeah.
do your stuff, right? I think my most traumatizing, I guess wouldn't be the right word, but it's kind of up there, experiences is when I worked in healthcare security. Just the amount of stuff that you would see come into the ER kind of, outshines everything else in terms of gravity and scope sometimes, I remember, and at the time my son was 6 years old, we had a patient come in who was 6 years old and his mom, she can't get any control of him. And this kid is just straight out, wilding out, right? And the doctor tells me that I got to restrain this patient, which means using straps to strap him down to the bed and stuff like that. And here I am thinking, holy cow, I'm strapping down a 6-year-old kid down to the bed, and my kid at home is 6 years old too. Like, what has happened to this kid that he's acting out like this? And it turns out that, yeah, he was being abused and traumatized at home and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you have the sad stuff. Then you have stuff that just kind of, you're watching it on the news where, there was an 11-year-old girl that got stabbed like 13 times. And 2 days later, the cops finally caught the guy hiding in a porta potty. And, lockup refused to take him in, so he was having some health condition, right, heartburn or whatever else, so lockup doesn't want to take ownership.
Yeah.
And he gets brought to my hospital, and he's walked in. 2 days earlier, he just killed this girl, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Most of the stuff, though, was really sad, especially our behavioral health population, folks that just truly had no control over how they're acting or, what their mind is doing to them. And just seeing how, pretty much revolving door for treatment, and part of it might be just because they don't have enough stability in their own life to continuously take their medication, or, hey, they're addicted to drugs or alcohol, and kind of what it did to their, to their life, just kind of wasted away.
Yeah. Yeah. We So I did a ride along actually for the Elgin Police Department when I was in high school,
Yeah.
and I probably should have had a vest on.
Yeah.
Didn't get a vest, but I got a little badge that said my name with my ugly face on it, and I put some gym shoes on, some jeans, and a sweatshirt, and I said, "Let's go.
There you go.
Let's go do some
Should have
stuff."
brought your own flashlight too, right?
Yeah, right. Didn't bring anything else. I apparently was supposed to bring a notebook and pen to like take notes on what they were doing. No, I was taking that all in because I got to go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times total.
Okay, cool.
It was all done through my school.
Yeah.
So first day they gave me to the rookie of the year. So the guy earlier the year before, he was named rookie of the year because he like checks every single beat, like every single block on his beat, everything. I mean, he's always in. He goes, just want to make people know I'm here. And then obviously later on, I went with like older dude. He goes, they need me. I mean,
Yeah, because the rookie wasn't jaded yet,
yeah, he's like, dude. And then,
Give him 3 years.
I remember one time, like, some dude walked into the first hour. Some dude goes into a Walgreens and steals a pack of cigarettes or something like that, like a carton. Or 2 cartons of cigarettes, runs away. Some homeless dude, I think it was.
Sure.
So we get out the car, and we're running down, like, the side of these railroad tracks. And I'm sitting there, and I'm, like, just jogging. And this dude's booking it, right? But, like, and we can see the guy, and like he's on his radio, like yelling on it or whatever. I'm like, this guy just bought. There's still 2 cartons of cigarettes, and we're putting this much manpower on this. I go, and I'm like looking at this guy, and I go, dude, I could burn past you right now and catch this dude. I'm like, I'm 18 years old. Football season just ended, or it's still going on.
Right.
And I'm sitting there in my best shape of my life, and I'm sitting there going, I know you're wearing boots and all this equipment, but like, I don't know what this guy's got, and and I'm still young too, so I probably wasn't even thinking of that in my head when I'm running right behind the guy. Yeah. But in my head, I'm sitting there going, like, dude, like, we could finish this here in 30 seconds, please. Like, let me just run up there and tackle this dude. But obviously, they don't want that kind of, issue on their hand if obviously the guy turns around and stabs me in the stomach or something.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
especially since you're not the sworn police officer, you're not covered by the insurance or any of that stuff.
So we had that day 1, right? That was the first hour, and I was sitting there going, if this was going to be like awesome. Sure enough, day 2. Snoring. I mean, we pulled over like 4 people.
Right.
Pulled over like 1 active gang member that had a couple warrants out.
Okay.
But I don't know, like he didn't like arrest them. He just like he was like.
Because they were probably not serviceable in the area.
Yeah, it just was something not, and he goes, okay,
Yeah.
But but it was funny how he noticed it. I remember we were sitting at a stop sign, and the guy's at a stop sign facing this way, and I think he's taking a right, and we're going straight, and we let him go first. And how the guy like kind of looks at us, he just kind of goes like this, and like nothing out of the ordinary that I probably wouldn't do. I probably would look over and be like, oh shit, a cop, right?
Right.
You do that anytime. And how he just looked at him, and he goes, dude, how he looked at me, man. Like, let's go pull him over. Let's see what happens. So he pulled up behind him, checked his lights before he put his lights on.
Right.
But sure enough, like 6 things popped up. He goes, look at that. I was right. I mean, the way he looked at me.
Right.
I mean, you don't look at, he goes, I go, what? So just by the way he looked at you? And he goes, I'm not going to put my lights on before anything happens. Obviously, I'm going to check everything out. If everything clears out on my end, then.
Make sure you got your proper cause, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's like so many little things that, once you do the job for a little bit, you start picking up on like little human clues and stuff in context where, the normal person just like, that's why it's very difficult to articulate that sometimes too. Because I wouldn't call it like a gut feeling or an intuition, but sometimes you just know, right?
Yeah.
So how do you act on that then, right? So.
Yeah. So we had 2 other. I'll get into them all because I think these are actually kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. So once we were taking a right-hand turn at a light, and this girl was actually looking down. You couldn't see anything in her hand, but she was looking down like this. Sure enough, pulled a Yui, pulled her over. He only gave her a warning, of course, but she was texting and driving. That's right when texting and driving became like illegal to do, right, against the law.
Right.
And then I asked him, I go, this was the older guy, and I go, yeah, man, so, they always came out the stuff in the news and on the billboards and stuff like that where officers are trained to see if you're wearing a seatbelt or not. I go, how true is that? He goes, I can't see if you're wearing a seatbelt or not. He goes, unless I'm literally sitting next to you or we are stopped next to each other. If I'm going this way and you're coming this way, I can't see that. I mean, there's such a reflection off of what my car has, your car. I mean, who knows what you got going on? Like, especially some cars, they have it right there.
Right.
He goes, I can't see that stuff.
And then with tinted windows nowadays, too, you just can't see anything inside the cars, too.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, it's the privacy, but it's also, an officer safety issue, too. That's why, hey, why did the officer walk up to the car with a hand on his gun? Well, because there's enough to maybe think that there's something dangerous, that potentially can happen in that
Yeah, and some
car.
fool, you see a fool kind of fumbling around in there. You don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, oh, I get that. I mean, that's what he said. I remember the one guy. He goes, because I almost got out the car with him. He goes, "No, you can't come with." And I
Right.
go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "This is super dangerous because not only can I get hit by a car from behind me,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, as soon as I walk up to that window and that window is down, he could be right there in my face,
Absolutely.
and I'm done, and that's it. And
Right.
then what? What's
Now,
he-
that's also a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Because granted, 99% of the population that we deal with are not intent on causing you harm or whatever else. It's more of a stressful situation to them than it is to you as the officer. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I want to come home too, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a balancing act that it needs. And that's the sad part about this whole conversation about like the police and stuff that's in the media right now, what have you, is, I totally get it that, there's a lot of situations that police have definitely gone, and caused a lot of harm to the communities and whatever else. But at the same time, too, the opposite is true, too, so.
So we had the only other one I remember. It was called the American. They called themselves the American Unit.
Okay.
So they were in Elgin as well, and they kind of did more of the. So someone dumped a body next to the casino in Elgin, right next to the river,
Okay.
Grand Victoria, I believe that's right there. And up on top of one of their main buildings in Elgin, they have a big camera that can turn around 360 and zoom in within like 6 miles or something like that. So they like pinpoint that or whatever, and they zoomed in, were able to catch the guy, actually pull up, get his license plate, and he actually ended up, after dropping the body there with two guys, he ended up going down the street like 6 blocks and crashed into like a wall or something.
Oh, wow.
And they ended up catching that, and they didn't know that those two incidents happened together. So
Right.
they just crashed into a wall. So obviously it's just an accident there. But then they were able to catch it, and they already had him on file of everything because the police came and everything.
Oh, wow.
So they right away were able to go and get him. So that's the kind of stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
So we had a prisoner transport, and I got to go along with them. And this guy was in Elgin, and he was drunk as a skunk, doing about 70 miles an hour in a 30, and he hit the curb and cracked the foundation of a house.
Oh, wow.
So you think about with your hands there, he broke both his wrists. So he was in the hospital for like 3 days, 3-4 days, because his wrists are broken, right?
Right.
So he's sitting there in the car, and he's got handcuffs on, like, here, right? I mean, pretty low. He's got a neck brace on, because I think he might have broken his neck too, but he has 2 broken wrists.
Right.
He's got the DUI, and he's been in the hospital for 3 days. And so he's sitting there in the car, and they got a pillow up too, and they're like holding him by the shoulder, so like if we have to break or anything, he doesn't like re-break his wrist.
That'd be messed up if they got in a car crash while transporting him.
Yeah, and we get to the like prison, I guess, or like to the jail in Kane County.
Yeah.
And we pull under, we get in there, and I'm sitting there, and it's like 2 hours later. They come back with him, and I'm going, what the hell's going on? So I get in, and I go, what happened? He goes, they don't want to wipe his ass. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, he can't wipe his own ass because both his wrists are broken. So they said that they're not going to be wiping his ass, and we're not taking him back to the hospital. So he gets to go home. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, and what's worse than that? He's got a girlfriend. She's going to have to wipe his ass. And we're sitting there, and they're making fun of him in the back seat.
Yeah.
Like, your girl's got to be wiping your ass and, like, giving you baths for the next, like, 6 months. And he's in there, oh, like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, come on, you just crashed into a house. And, like, I think that's one of the main reasons I think they were going to give him send him to the jail for a few days because I think the speed limit plus he, like, endangered, like, someone because they ran into their house.
For sure.
It was, like, all that kind of stacked up against him.
Yeah.
Obviously with the DUI as well. But they were going to send him there, and the jail was like, we are not taking this dude.
It'd be
Like,
amazing what jails and lockups, what they'll refuse sometimes to intake a prisoner for. It's just nuts sometimes. It's just,
yeah, and then
hey, I got diarrhea. We're not taking them.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
yeah, and then we had one other one that was my final one. It was two actually. I got 2 for you. This one was actually kind of cool. I mean, it was sad, but it was super cool. So we got called to a stabbing, right? And I'm thinking, all right, this is kind of cool. So we got to check this out. So we get there, and this is day 1. So this is actually day 1 with the rookie cop. So after we chase some dude down, we get to go to a stabbing, and I go, all right, this is cool, this is awesome, like this is what we get to see. And so the guy's like this old man, like is laying in the yard or something like that. He finally put him up on a stretcher. We got there a little bit like right when they're taking him out, right, and they
Okay.
haven't figured out what happened yet. And we go into the garage, And my guy I was with, he was mad at me because he told me to look, right? He goes, look around, don't touch anything, but look for what, like if there's a possible knife or anything like that somewhere. And I go, okay, cool. I was like, I'll look in the garage. He goes, yeah, look in there. So I go in the garage, and it was actually an ex-military, like old dude. I mean, former Marine. He's in his 80s.
Yeah.
And he's got all his stuff up on the wall from what he did and where he's been in his life. And he had a tarp laid out behind his car. He pulled his car a little bit, had a tarp laid out, and the knife was sitting there, and there was the blood. He stabbed himself. And he stabbed himself because he wanted to kill himself because his girlfriend broke up with him.
Oh, wow.
And he's 80-some years old. And, like, they're sitting there going, and the officer I was with was a little pissed because he goes, you saw it first? And I go, yeah. He goes, that means I got to do the paperwork. And I go, my bad. He goes, it's all right. I mean, this paperwork's going to suck now, but all right. Like, since you saw it first, I guess I got to take care of it.
Right.
And because he tried even getting the one guy like, oh, you want to look in there with him? And the guy was like, no, he can do it. Like, because he probably knew.
They probably knew that's where it was going to be at.
Yep.
Yeah.
And sure enough, but very clean, no blood like in the garage, all on a tarp. Like he planned it all out perfectly. Ended up living, right? So it was good. But like how he hit himself, he like went into like under the ribs, but like when he did it, he like went up too high or something like that, and like it just didn't really work out. So he ended up just having a deep cut wound on himself, and they thought it was a stabbing because he's sitting there bleeding out, and his girlfriend came home, and I'm like, and they're sitting there, they were sitting there almost chuckling about it, and you had to kind of chuckle about it too. Is this guy's 80 years old? He's been in the military for his whole life, damn near. He probably saw some crazy shit wherever he was.
Sure.
And I mean, I probably went to Vietnam, no problem. I mean, I think there was stuff on the wall where he definitely was there.
Yeah, it fits the age group for it.
And he wants to almost kill himself at 8 years old because his girlfriend broke up with him.
How old was the girlfriend now?
Like she was she was old too. Like they were both old. And I'm like sitting there going like, you've seen some shit in your life, and you decide that the girlfriend was the tipping point in your life.
Yeah.
Like shit. I mean, we all battle.
She was a keeper,
things.
but apparently not.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but yeah. So we all saw a bunch of stuff like that. One other time we had a pretty bad accident actually.
Okay.
Old lady was pulling left. Dude was turning right. T-boned her. Mm-hmm. She was wedged into the car.
Yeah.
That car was totaled. I mean, mangled. But it was cool by the officer because afterwards, a few hours later, we ended up going to the hospital and seeing if she was all right, and she was okay. Her family came and everything like that, and she probably just was shooken up when we saw her first. But that was like interesting to be a part of because this guy's car is mangled. They got him in cuffs because they found out that he was like a little tipsy.
Okay.
So ended up taking another driver off the road because he was tipsy too, and just how it all happened too. And it was interesting just to see how that all played out because I was part of the traffic control. I'm sitting at a light, sitting there going, because this car is in the center of the parking, of the street. So you got, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I mean, it's 2 lanes on each side coming at each way. It's a big main intersection, and I'm sitting there going, all right, like I got to figure this out, right? So I'm sitting there like stopping these people, like, yeah, you can take a left, and like they're trusting me to do this right now, and they gave me like a little vest or something like that, and they gave me like one like little orange stick or something like that,
right.
to like wave people on it, and like I'm 18 years old, I'm still in high school, and I'm sitting in the middle of this like thing, and they got the cops are all around me anyway, so I'm protected as it is, but everyone's moving super slow and doing traffic for like 45 minutes, and
that's always when you realize how stupid people really are is when you're directing traffic. People just don't listen, they don't pay attention.
Because then you're sitting there going, stop, like you stop, what are you doing? Like you guys are coming, stop, and people are getting mad at you. Come on, and I go, what do you mean, come on? I mean,
yeah, that was always one of the worst details. I used to have a side job early on where we do parking and traffic control for a different university for all their graduations and football, basketball games, and what have you. And that was just so frustrating. You'd come home, you'd be so tired just from dealing with people, not so much the fact that you were standing outside, for a couple of hours, what have you. It's just the people are just, man, they're what beat you down.
Oh yeah. It's also interesting to see too. So in Scottsdale, I've seen it a lot more than I've seen it here. When there's an accident between lights, they will close down that entire section.
That's starting to happen more often now. I've been seeing it happen more often.
I haven't
here.
seen it here at all yet. Obviously, I haven't been here in a while, but yeah, it's weird because the other day I was cruising to some buddy's house, and I'm sitting there, and it goes, and there's a cop, right, just blocking off this whole section. So I had to go all the way around, which took me
Right.
like 45 minutes or whatever it was, because going through like these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
I'm
especially out there.
and then I'm coming
It takes
back
forever
home.
to
Yeah,
get
and then I'm coming back home, and they're still sitting there, and they're cleaning it all up still. And they got a cleaning crew out there, and they got big lights. And I go, and it was like 2 cars, like you could see both the cars were both mangled, sitting in the back of the thing. And I'm like, they close
Well,
this entire thing
They'll
down.
always shut it down when it's a fatality.
Okay,
or,
that's what it-
or
okay.
probable fatality.
Okay.
Right, like the dude's in the hospital, he's like hanging on by, a small thread or something. So then they'll always shut it down for something like that. But I've seen it happen now where even smaller accidents, just because it creates such a safety issue for, the fire department or the police officers doing the interaction or whatever else, they'll just close that little strip down, because when the fire department comes, they'll just shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
They'll just park the big ass truck across lanes, and they don't care.
Yeah. They definitely are all out there. So I wanted to get into a couple more things here with you.
Yeah.
So we kind of were talking about it before, and I think we talked about it in the past. You're in the Army still,
Yeah.
okay? And what the producer over here told me, OG, he was bringing it up before. He said PSYOP or mind fuckery as your division or your like expertise. Is that the best
Yeah.
way to kind of put it? Or
Yeah, so my job in the Army, I'm psychological operations specialist, and not so much mind fuckery. You have to have some understanding of, psychology and what have you, but it's just simple behavior change, right? How do we get a person to, do X because it benefits us, right? So, if you go overseas, it's like, hey, how do we get people to stop blowing themselves up? Because obviously we don't want to get blown up also, right? So just kind of figuring out all the in-between steps of how do we stop them or get them to do what needs to get done so it's advantageous to U.S. interests.
okay, so how do you do that?
Yeah, well, that's half the secret, right?
Yeah.
No, it's, just understanding people,
Yeah.
right? And I think the more you interact with people, the more you interact with different types of people, starts giving you a better understanding of it. Just figuring out what ways, can they consume that information in a way to get you to, get that desired effect that you're looking for. I always go back to watching TV commercials as a kid, right? Hey, the latest G.I. Joe just came out, right? And that ad is specifically designed for me as a kid, right, to get super excited and really want this toy. So then I go bug the living shit out of my parents so they finally cave and spend $20-$30 on a G.I. Joe that I probably didn't need or what have you, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like figuring out, how do you as my consumer essentially, how are you going to take in the information? Are you actually able to respond and understand the information that I'm trying to get you to understand?
Yeah.
And will that actually lead you to changing your behavior? Because, hey, I can give you, a sheet of paper telling you exactly, why it's important to go vote, right? But if you're under threat of life, if you go vote, you're going to want to stay alive, so you're not going to go vote, right? So it's just figuring out all the different things that go into that. And like I said, part of it is, psychology. Some of it is behavioral sciences. Some of it is just simply understanding what's happening in the environment and the surroundings that that person's living and operating in, essentially.
Yeah. So have you ever been overseas at all? Or?
No, I haven't. Not in that respect. So all of my stuff has been in like a training environment.
Okay. So will there ever be a time that you think you use that in like the U.S. where you'll be able to? Obviously, because I understand. Let's see. Let me rephrase this a little bit better. So obviously, I know that national security. I was watching that movie the other day with Martin Lawrence. No, not national security. I might draw on a blank. OG. What is the what's like the where the chicks always join and the guys that aren't strong enough to make the army? What do they go to?
Air Force?
No. What's below National Guard? National Guard.
Oh, yeah.
National Guard. Okay.
Okay.
So National Guard, I know that they pretty much right. You can get on this as well. So you guys, you would say National Guard is always the one that pops up onto the overall. They're like the American police, technically, right? I mean, that's how you could say it.
I mean, they're like the formalized state militias that each state has control over, and they can be federalized to, obviously assist.
They get a lot more funding than we do.
Yeah. I mean, they took a big chunk of all the deployments, in Iraq and Afghanistan just because, all the active army units were just getting burnt out with deploying so much. So, yeah, because there's really 3 divisions within the big army, and I don't mean divisions in terms of units, but, there's the active army, there's the Army Reserve, so the active army and the Army Reserve are under federal jurisdiction, and then you have the National Guard, which is under state jurisdiction. So a governor during a flood or whatever else, they can activate them to help state stuff, but they can also be activated under federal authorities, to serve the regular army.
Yeah. Okay. So then, is there an Air Force Reserve or Marine Reserve?
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
Marines have a reserve. I don't know if the Navy does. I know the Coast Guard does, or they have some sort of auxiliary program, and then the
Space Force.
Air Force has
Space Force.
Air National Guard.
Space Force.
Space Force needs a reserve.
Absolutely, Space Force needs psyopers too, man. At some point, I want to psyop some Martians.
I think of Space Force. I think of that show with Steve Carell.
I've only seen the YouTube intros,
That
promoting it or
sucks.
whatever.
I don't recommend
Did
it
it?
at all. No, it's boring.
Which is a shame because Steve Carell's a pretty funny guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be
I
a
like
good
his
one,
comedy.
but he tried acting like kind of like a Michael Scott and like that kind of almost thing, and it just didn't really work out that well.
Right.
But okay, so
But didn't the guy from Family Guy also try doing like a Star Trek type in space?
McFarlane,
Yeah.
what did he do? He did.
Yeah, he did a show. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah. Okay. Probably wasn't as successful as Family Guy then.
Yeah, you don't rock out 30. He's at like 30 seasons now, isn't he?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, he flies through.
And then
those
even the
suckers.
Cleveland show wasn't all that good either. Like the original Family Guy. I mean, that's where it was.
The
at.
first like 12 seasons were great.
Right.
And
well,
then-
just like the first 12 seasons of Simpsons, and then it just.
Oh yeah, and then
dies
now
off.
I can't believe Simpsons is still going.
Yeah, there's only so much.
I
guess
always
you can-
like that, seeing that stuff on Facebook or whatever else, wherever you see it on YouTube, and it goes, look, they said that we're gonna be wearing masks. And
Oh,
they
right.
said that they're gonna like.
Yeah, the
they
Simpsons
said Trump was
predicted-
gonna be Trump was gonna be president, and all these other things, which is hilarious that how
Dude,
it runs, and then
you can find a conspiracy about anything nowadays, and I mean, I guess that's what's kind of cool about stuff because you can really like dive into a deep rabbit hole with some of the stuff.
Oh.
But it's like,
so there was the one with excuse me. So there was one where it was after Kobe died, right? I
Okay.
was listening to one of the podcasts, and this guy went into a discussion about how the score of the Pro Bowl game that was being played right when they called that said that he was dead, the score of it in some language or something like that. Do you remember this? It was some kind of language or something like that that said Kobe is dead or something like that.
Jesus.
And then he connected it with something else of the time on the clock where it added up to 24, and then the players they were showing on the screen at the time, it was number 8 or something like that. It was like some real out of the world thing with the Pro Bowl. And then, the guy called bullshit on it a little bit,
Yeah.
whoever the host was. And then someone else, then he said something else the next day was watching something else, and he goes, well, it's like the Greek alphabet, the Siamese queers and the twins and all these other things. And he goes, oh, and it equals 824 or whatever else. And I go,
people have like way too much time on their hands sometimes. It's as simple as, correlation does not equal causation. Just because they seem to be associated doesn't mean one is the cause of the other. I mean, shit, there's like so many examples in life that, it's just, I don't know. It's fun though.
Yeah.
Like my dad's a little bit of a conspiracy theorist too, so it's like I like kind of getting at him with some of that stuff too.
oh, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's so many different things you can think about that are so interesting that we are a part of, right? And like just us humans in the U.S. alone, right? I mean, you could think that obviously it's always like whenever you see two people get high, they always go, hey, it's a simulation, man. We're not in a simulation. I can feel it. But then again, when I'm sober, you sit there and you go, I mean, we could be like, what's that movie where they're watching him. He's just the only one that's. It's an older movie. He's being watched. It's
Truman Show.
Truman Show.
Okay.
Like we could all be in the Truman Show.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if you ever saw Truman Show.
No.
So just it was a movie. Who is that? Is that who's in that one?
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Okay.
So Jim Carrey's in there, and they're like recording him, and he like does all these different things. He's like afraid to like leave the island because his dad died or something.
Okay.
You know, you check it out. It's
sounds
it's
interesting.
an interesting show because it kind of paints a picture of what like sometimes people feel like they are here, right?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's kind of what spurred some of the people like that are so into the Matrix, right? They have these out of body sensations or what have you that they're just kind of really part of some computer program and just kind of going through the motions, and they're not the ones making their choices or what have you. I mean, there's.
So do you think that? Okay, so this was I asked this question before. I think I've asked it to OG over here a couple times, and how he responded to it was not how I'm asking it. So how do you think that the government has their hand in the cookie jar a little bit on coronavirus? Not meaning through like the media where how to scare people. Do you think that they have their hand in it a little bit where it's more for a political gain of just trying to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and it's tough, right? So it's like, do I think the coronavirus exists and it's a threat? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think it affects different people differently and all that other stuff? Sure. I mean, there's clearly some people that are dying, some people that, can have it and absolutely nothing happens, right? Is there political gain to be able to spin the virus response or anything along with it one way or another? Sure. I mean, that's what politicians are great at, is taking anything. It could be coronavirus. It can be, hell, it could be, like the water situation in Michigan or something. Like, there's always a spin to have. Now, is the government purposely out there, like, making the situation worse or better? No, they're not making it better, nor are they making it worse, right? I think the virus has to run its course. And, I mean, let's be honest, there's a finite number of resources, and tough decisions have to be made. Who's going to get those resources? I get it, right? But I don't think there's some big conspiracy behind it either.
okay.
I mean, sure. I mean, arguments can be made that, yeah, there's enough evidence. I mean, we don't know where we're like,
Yeah.
But, we can make a conspiracy case out of anything.
So what would you say then would be the easiest way to get this over with and done with now, right now? I mean, if I'm gonna put you in charge right now, this is. Like,
This is one that might be a little controversial too, right? Because lives may be lost because of it or whatever else. But honestly, we have to allow what humans have been doing for our entire existences: catch the virus, build antibodies, and whatever else. And it's sad, because some people might not make it through it, right? And I try to be compassionate and empathetic to that, but at the same time too, all these things that are put into place, the mask wearing and everything, it's all about slowing the trend down because we don't want to overwhelm the resources for the hospitals and stuff like that. But it's not going to lessen the amount of people that are going to get sick, right? If 9-10 months into it now, which is I think where we're at now, almost 10 months into it, right? If I haven't caught it by now, the chances are greater that in the near future I probably will have it. Because we're down to the list of, hey, we're finally getting to this fat Polish guy here, right? We got everybody else. Now it's my turn, right? So I think everybody has to run its course, right? And maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. I don't know.
No, I agree with you on that part. I definitely agree with you, and obviously that you are right. It's very controversial because you have to think that, okay, if you really look at the numbers, whatever else, there's a lot of math involved with it, and I'm not good with that stuff. But you can add it all in and say, well, with this many people that have already caught it, and this many people died from it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now you also have a little asterisk next to that because how many of those people probably had some other underlying issue before that.
Absolutely.
But I'm in total agreement with you is that the only way I think we could move past this point and not live 2021 and another year of 2020, damn near just extended, what it feels like is
that's what's going to happen, by the way.
Just, let's put it out in the air. And
yeah,
just
on December 31st, when the clock at midnight's going to change over, we're going to start the 13th month of 2020.
Yeah, yeah, it's that's what it's going to feel like, I'm
right.
sure, and I'm with you on that one too. That's been my argument for a while now. Here is, it's just like when you get the flu, you know, like I mean, when you get the flu shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting a flu shot saying, okay, well, because of that, I can't get the flu now. I mean, it's weakening your immune system so you can become stronger as it progresses.
Right.
So why not just? I mean,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I
It,
do.
it just
It's-
has to happen, I think. And
I mean, eventually it will. I think where every single person will eventually get it. But obviously, it's tough to say that because you know there's babies that don't have immune systems. You have,
Right.
you know, older people that, you know, maybe are in their 60s or 70s, which you know maybe they won't be, maybe they're not the healthiest, but they're not, you know, not nowhere near their deathbed. You know.
I think if this was, to make its waves really quick, right? And unfortunately, the people that do die, they do die. But I think it allows us to rebound and kind of get back to normal, whatever that normal is, quicker, right? Now that we've drawn this out for so long or what have you, it's taken its course. This is having huge impacts on a lot of people's mental health and everything else happening in society, including our economy. And there's so many stressors. So many people are taking their lives because of this. So I mean, it's a huge, huge thing to take into consideration. But like I said, humans have been fighting viruses and diseases, forever. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't vaccinate or whatever else. Maybe that is the answer. I mean, I don't know. But at the same time, I think it just needs to run its course, run it as quickly as possible so that people can get back to a normal life. I think us as a society, right, have gotten so used to trying to insulate ourselves from harm or hell, bad feelings or anything like that, that, we're almost coddling ourselves because we're almost afraid of, any kind of adversity that may be brought on. And that's sad, because, all throughout human history, human species has always been a warrior, right? Whether it was a saber-toothed tiger, it wasn't. But being chased down by some, carnivorous animal or disease or whatever else, we've always said, hey, we're man or woman or whatever, and it's here's a challenge. We're going to beat it down and we're going to drive forward and we're going to become better. So have we really reached the point and the pinnacle of, our evolution, and now we're going to start devolving, emotionally, physically, and what have you? I don't know.
It's funny how you said it a little bit ago. What you said is how it's such a tough year for some people, and I can agree with that 100%. I had times where in the beginning of this year it was super tough. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was tough. I wasn't ready to quit, but I was sitting there going this sucks. I'm not having fun with this right now. My mental being is brutal, absolutely brutal. And then as the year progressed, summer came.
Right.
Was able to kind of clear the head a little bit more, and then this semester of school, I've gotten used to how that way of school is. Mm-hmm. That I actually got comfortable with it. I'm actually doing a lot better than I did before, even.
Okay.
Even when I was in school, right? And obviously, I would say online a little easier than being.
Oh yeah,
in person.
It's a gimme, right?
I mean, you're not taking stuff, and I mean, I will say this too. Obviously, going to school, transferring, and I mean, my whole college time. I mean, I only took maybe 12 exams in person, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything else has always been online.
Okay.
I mean, they lock you down and stuff like that, but there's easy ways on stuff all the time where you can get away with whatever pretty much you want.
Okay.
And I mean, that sucks, right? At the same time, you're paying for this, but obviously after 6 years too, you just want to be done.
Right.
So at times you sit there and go, all right, let's finish this quickly here. Let's just get this over with. But as much as it's been a hard year, I think you can also make the same argument that it's been the best year for everybody, because you've now been able to isolate yourself. You've been able to put yourself in a situation obviously I think that all the people that have made it to this point, right? I think that you can actually almost look back in a positive sense and say, it might have actually been the best year of my life mentally, because you were able to actually get through it. And I mean, obviously now if you're still struggling, okay, maybe reach out to someone.
But that's because you've also changed your approach to it too, right? Because you flipped it on its head, and instead of being beaten down by it, you're oh man, we're beating us. I'm actually starting to do better or what have you, right? And I'm not saying that the people that are struggling because they've lost their job or have lost someone or whatever else, but you hit a key point there, is that if you change your mentality and that stuff and start flipping around on its positive to the positive end of things, it's going to start bringing you out of it. But humans are such a social creature that, I definitely see a lot of these relationships that are now done at a distance, right, that are truly affecting people. I mean, I even see my oldest kid, who's been doing all remote learning, since last year, since the COVID thing started, and all of this year, he definitely has this sense of, longing with some other human interaction other than just the 5 people inside our 4 walls, at our house. So, that's the big key that's also missing.
Yeah, I think that's what's okay for me. I'm a very extroverted person. I love to socialize and be around other people, and that was what was bearing down on me in the beginning of the year. It was tough. I was sitting there going, I'm seeing the same 4 assholes every single day at school in this place. I can't leave. We only leave one place, and we go to the grocery store.
Right.
And we all
try
go
to hunt for TP.
we all go for as a team to pretty much get as much as we can at Costco, and we're all spending $100 each or something like that.
Right.
And then we're not even eating half the food that we even got anyways because we're gonna order out anyways. So and we're just sitting there and just hating. I don't want to look at you anymore. Like, we've watched the same movies over and over.
Right.
I can only watch so many movies a night that I don't want to just punch you in the face anymore. You're pissing me off because you leave out dishes. You know what I mean? So it was just all like you just wanted to bang your head against the wall.
Yeah.
I think everyone around you did too. And I mean, even the guys that were very introverted too, like that I lived with, they even were too going. I may be introverted, but I still need new faces once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm starting to go a little crazy. And then summer hit, which got a lot better for us. I mean, Arizona too. I will say this, knock on wood, is the coronavirus ain't real there. That's
Right.
what I'm saying.
I know.
I mean, we wear masks. We wear masks everywhere. Okay, you wear masks when you go inside places. You wear, anytime you're around other people, sure, right?
Right.
But
also the sun exposure and the heat, man, it also kills the virus,
you
right?
do whatever the hell you want there.
Yeah.
I mean, we go golfing all the time. I mean, you couldn't even go golfing here this year. I mean, you could. There was a couple. I think there was like a couple weeks. There was a couple weeks. I think they allowed it, and then they took it away.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona it's very lax. This could be a good thing, and it could be a bad thing.
Right.
I mean,
and we don't know, right? But that's what I'm saying. Let it run its course, right? Because here in Illinois, I mean, going back to like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, are we in such a lockdown state or what have you as well, in order to induce, some federal stimulus money too, because obviously we're I think we are, or like second to worst run state in the entire country, right? So, they want to get all this stimulus money and what have you. So by saying, hey, we collapse this part of the economy or whatever else, hey, we need a bailout or what have you, is that part of it too? I don't know. I mean, but again, conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah. It's such a weird year, right? And the funny thing is too is we watched some stuff on a class once, and they discussed with us, watch these commercials, and what is the same thing that you see over and over for all these big name companies? Apple, Benjamin Moore today I saw. Name all these big car commercials. You name all the Nike, everything else. The same words, 5 words that they all use is this year, hardship, in this together, Americans.
Right.
It's like these 5 key words that they all use.
After the election, there was a lot of unite.
Yeah, unfortunate times. Unfortunate times. That's the biggest thing. And that's all commercials use those 5 things when they do those deeper commercials.
Right.
And they keep posting them, all of them. And they still have them to this day. I mean, you still turn the TV on and you watch some TV and they'll still pop up, these unfortunate times.
Does that make you believe it's an unfortunate time then?
No.
You're hearing it all the time though.
Yeah, right. That's like they.
But it's almost like helping you build into it. That's like, oh man, it sucks, and it really must be unfortunate. You keep hearing the same message over and over. It's like you're beaten down into thinking that, yeah, it really is unfortunate. Yeah, I mean it sucks, but you got to drive on. You can't kind of down.
But in a weird way though, it's almost like we've built immunity to that. We've almost built immunity in our brains to the sense of. I mean, I think most people started to, right? I mean, obviously, in the beginning this year, I mean, I think every single person probably were like, this is horrible.
Right.
I mean, besides OG over here thinking, yes, World War III is coming, and
Yeah.
this is going to be the coolest year of my life.
Right.
You know, I'm
Mask ain't gonna save him.
yeah, right.
Right.
He's probably thinking in his head, yeah, I'm gonna stick something out every window, and I'm ready to anybody that comes on this property, I'm getting them down. Like we're gonna have
Right.
so much fun the next, you know. But I think everyone struggled really. I think in the very beginning of the year, I think the first 3-4 months for sure, everyone definitely was whoa, like this
Right.
sucks. And I think we've built an immunity now where we don't feel that anymore. A lot of people, I think, have, like how you said, flip that script. You don't feel it. You turn it up on
Right.
side and you go somewhere else with it now, and you're like, ah.
A lot of
this
people
isn't-
have, but there's a lot of people that just don't have that skill set to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And those people aren't doing very well, you know. So
Yeah, but it's all tricky, and it's all interesting to talk about too, because there's so many different ways you can spin it, and you can always look at it this way or that way. And
Right.
I think it says Michael Scott. I always use Michael Scott a lot in this.
Gotcha.
'Cause I think a lot of people have watched The Office. So Michael Scott, he goes, you know, you could look at this 99. I could look at this 1,000 different ways. That side, this side, my side, and you know, 987 different ways or whatever else. And he
Right.
goes, well, what are the other ones? And he goes, there's other ways you look at it, but
Yeah.
it's a weird. I don't know if that really makes much sense, but yeah. So there's just it's a weird way we can spin all these things that are happening, and
yeah, I
It's
think
just
the key
interesting
really
to
is
think
to
about.
focus on positivity. You know, focusing on the good relationships and continuing to make them better, right? Because there's always room for improvement. You know, some self-reflection, you know, and try to make yourself better. It's a great opportunity right now as, you know, maybe our attention isn't so divided on so many issues or what have you. We're post-election, we're post some of this other, you know, stuff happening that, hey, you know, now's a great opportunity to kind of bounce back from it by focusing on the things that really matter. Yeah, and just kind of moving forward.
yeah. What I will say this, and I want to get into this really fast, and then I think we'll try to wrap this sucker up. So I wanted to talk about this with you, and I don't know if you've noticed this at all. So this year we had, I think, OG, are you pull up how many hurricanes have we had this year?
Oh, it's been record-setting because we're into like 4 or 5 into the, what is it, Greek alphabet? So it's definitely been
I already had
record-setting.
Tropical Storm Kyle that almost got into a hurricane. I was super
really?
kind of excited about that one.
He didn't
because
have enough
my
monster in him, I
yeah,
guess.
My name never came up to anything like that. But what are we at over
Punching
there?
drywall.
Yeah, and drinking Monster.
Right.
12 this year.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's record-setting, I believe.
And
yeah.
think about this in the past. You get ones like Katrina, stuff like that, Ike, whatever else.
Yeah,
The stuff
Hurricane
that hits-
Andrew.
Yeah,
Hurricane
all
Andrew.
these big ones that happen, and that's on your news. What's the one that went into Texas into Houston? Was that Ike?
Yeah, something like that. Or
Yeah, it was something, and that was news for 6 months.
mm-hmm.
Now it's 2 weeks.
Right.
Done with it. Move on. What else you got for me? What's
Yeah.
the next story?
Right.
People don't care. People don't care anymore. It's on the same
Yeah,
like-
well, people's attention spans has also gotten super small and super short too. So, yeah, you got to keep it fresh, you know, because, you know, as people are getting these like news hits and stuff like that, you know, they're actually getting like high off of it. It's almost a thrill and a chase, right? So you can't keep beating the same story. They need a new story. They need something new, excitement. It's you know, something new to, you know, give them an up.
Yeah, it's it's just weird. It's just weird how the media works sometimes. I think
Yeah.
it just they're almost like psyop to you, right? I feel
Absolutely.
like they're probably the best ones at it. I mean,
Absolutely.
they can draw you in, flip you around, and make you think something different tomorrow. And
For sure.
that's it's so cool, but in the same sense, it's so messed up.
Yeah, that's why you got to kind of really, you know, focus on diversifying your, you know, news media and stuff like that too. Not that I have a preference for one or the other, but just to, you know, like in the morning at work, right? I'll check CNN, I'll check Fox News, I'll check Al Jazeera, I'll check BBC, maybe a little bit of Reuters. You know, everybody's going to have a different spin and a different perspective on them. I don't think any one is better or worse than the other. You know, certainly, you know, some of them are, you know, aligned with different schools of thoughts. But it's also good, I guess, to branch out into those different sectors because it just makes you a more well-rounded individual too, and kind of understand maybe a different perspective of where this agency's coming from and where this news agency's coming from. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, or maybe it's just completely made up. Who knows? But I guess if you're gonna be ingesting media, ingest it in a very diversified format. The worst thing you could do is just get stuck in one school of thought, because it becomes toxic.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that in our lifetimes they will not have where we can turn the TV on cable and watch news on the TV, or it's going to be all on the phone and computer and tablet? You think we'll eventually get to that once?
Yeah, I
Do you
think
think
it- I
before
think
we
there's-
die, or maybe after? Maybe our
No,
our
I
kids
still
or
think that
something
there's
like
going to be, a desire to ingest media via TVs and what have you. Because there's a sense of community, right? When you sit down at a TV, like with your family or whatever else, and you turn on a 9 o'clock news or whatever it is that you do, right? I think there's always going to be the big screen format for even just, home entertainment. So that's always going to be a medium available. It's not just going to be through your phones. But what I suspect will happen, as has occurred over the last 40, 50 years, is the continued buying up of media companies into these giant conglomerates. So you're going to start lacking more diversity of thought along the way. And then it really is going to be, hey, the liberals versus the conservatives, or, will it eventually ever turn into just one? And you're getting one state-sponsored, like North Korean news channel or something like that,
Yeah.
right? That would be a fear I would have for the future, is to ever get to that point. I think the more variety you have, the better it is.
So that's why my biggest fear too is you have Hulu. I think so my three biggest ones in my mind. Obviously, there's all the like Peacock and Adobe or whatever, or
Yeah.
Adobe Flash Drive, whatever,
Yeah.
and all these other ones, right?
Disney
But the
Plus
top
and-
three I
yeah.
think are I think it goes Netflix, Prime, Hulu. I don't think Hulu's there yet because they still do the commercial shit, and people don't like watching commercials.
I think Disney Prime has Hulu beat.
Yeah, I think so too.
man.
And what my fear is that these three companies are eventually going to go to they've already started to do it now, right? I mean, there's CBS stuff on. I mean, I can watch 20-some seasons of on Survivor.
Even if they don't buy them out completely, they'll definitely get into like partnerships and whatever else. And you see that happening not just within media. You see that happening with so many different organizations. I mean, even look at like healthcare, right? These like mega organizations that are scooping up all these like smaller hospitals and whatever else. They claim to be able to, increase patient care and, bring costs down because they can, leverage economies of scale or whatever else. But at the end of the day, you're just creating this one giant company that isn't competing against anything. So how are you really going to get a better product if it's not competing except against itself?
Yeah.
And
then that's like the fear for me is that these big companies are what they're going to do eventually, right? I think eventually it'll happen. And then obviously from there, then they'll flush it out and then new companies will come in. Mm-hmm. But I'm afraid that these big companies are going to come in and grab these, they're going to grab. So obviously ABC is ESPN, Disney. Mm-hmm. They're always going to be like that. I think they're going to be the next president of the United States in the future. Right?
Wow.
I think Disney company is going to become our ruler eventually, right? ESPN and ABC, they're going to control ours. But what stops Netflix, Prime, Hulu, all of those companies to not go to Bravo and say, look, we're going to take over your Bravo channel and these other 7 channels that you have as well through your company. Mm-hmm. And if people want to watch it, they have to watch it through our, I guess,
app or whatever the access point is.
You have to get our membership to watch those shows, to watch anything of those shows. If they want to watch Bravo, they have to have a Prime membership. Mm-hmm. So what stops that in 50 years from now, we don't sit here and go, okay, well, if you want to watch TV, you want to watch this channels to these channels, you have to have a Netflix membership. You want these channels to these channels, you have to have Prime. And you want to watch sports, you have to have Hulu.
Yeah.
And then you just have maybe basic
it's already happening.
2, 5, 7, and 9 as the basic cable.
It's already happening, and I think, our future is going to not have free channels over the air anymore. At some point, I think maybe 10, 15 years from now, we may be away from that. I don't know, which sucks because everything's about monetization. Right?
That's it's weird stuff to think about, but
right. But we as the consumers allow for that to happen.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, we do, and we kind of like it too at the same time.
Right. Well, it's convenient, right?
Convenient. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest word. That's what Americans love.
Right.
I mean, that's I think almost every human loves.
But it's part of our downfall.
Mm-hmm. That's what could destroy us as well.
Absolutely.
In the long run. I mean, that's the convenience come on, you have stuff that's called a convenience store.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
pretty much our lives are becoming convenient. I mean, the fact
Right.
that you can pretty much with your phone in front of you, you can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, anything. You can order anything. You can watch anything. You can anything.
I mean, you can actually have an app on there if you have one of those smart toilets. You can hit the button on the app and it'll like bidet you.
really.
Yeah.
See, it's
nuts,
getting
man.
all over the place.
Right.
I will say this: one of the cooler apps that I've saw is that the overall. So there's an app where you can actually put it and you can scan the game with the app.
Okay.
And then what the app will do then will actually take the sound of that game and go to your phone. So then if you're at a bar and you can't hear the game, you can actually sit there with your headphones in or something like that,
wow.
and you can listen to the game with the announcers. It's
That's
a free
nice.
app.
Yeah.
And I go, God, look how convenient that is.
Right.
I mean, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. So conveniences are, you're right, it's our biggest downfall for sure, and it's what could wipe us all out eventually.
Yeah.
So, but you got anything else for us? You got anything?
No, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I wish a lot of success with this thing. I mean, you guys have done a hell of a job here. I'm really impressed. So,
Yeah.
just stay healthy and be good, and
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on too. It's nice to have a new face on too. I will say that I've had so many, but at the same time, it's same faces all the time, but doing new stuff in person and just getting a totally different perspective on everything.
Right.
I mean, I think this is a fantastic conversation because what we talked about was stuff that has never come out of any of my other, members' mouths. I
Yeah,
call it,
for
everyone's
sure.
a member. You're part of the Life Parlay member now.
There you go, man.
But, so it's free for you, but you get nothing in return. So
Oh, perfect. Yeah, just invite me next time. Like
Yeah.
I said, I have so many things that are like, even my own opinions of stuff are like self-contradictory too. So
Yeah.
it definitely makes for an interesting conversation.
Yeah, but
and find somebody's basement, we could put another floor down.
yeah, exactly. That's what we got to do. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.